So welcome. Today we are really fortunate to have joining us Angie Klein. And Angie happens to be the Vice President of Consumer Segment Marketing for Verizon. And she's joining us together with my colleague and esteemed Professor Raghu Iyengar, who is also a professor of marketing at the Wharton School, and he is the director of Wharton Customer Analytics. But let's go ahead and get started. And Angie, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Nice to see you.
Well, we're delighted that you're here. And I'm going to start you off by basically what we've been trying to do is understand how the pandemic has affected business and business operations and how everybody has responded to that. So we're going to get into that in just a second, but just to familiarize our audience with Angie Klein. Give us a little bit of your background and how long you've been in your current position.
Sure. Well, I'm, as you said, I'm a senior vice president today of our consumer segment, which includes, basically our value prop development across our mobile business for postpaid, prepaid, our home businesses, including 5G home, Fios, as well as our innovative Verizon Up loyalty program. So I have a lot of the things that I would say when we talk about why Verizon, that my team develops and thinking about segments. And as you and I have worked in the past and talked about how we market and target specific segments in order to win.
Okay.
I've been with Verizon 20 years this year, which is hard to believe. I've been in this role in, I guess, an evolution. I've had part of this role for 4 years now. But other parts I've had for a year or two, like the home side with the Verizon reorg that we did with Verizon 2.0 nearly 2 years ago. The home side and the mobile side came together, really focused on consumers. So differing levels of expansion of my accountability, but really centered right on the customer, which is exciting.
You know, when you say you've been there for 20 years, that's really amazing to me. When I look at you, I had trouble putting senior vice president in your title because, who would have guessed?
Yeah.
But let's jump right into it. And I would love to find out and love for you to share with our audience how the pandemic has affected Verizon. And so if you can give us some background on that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think as with any company across the world, probably we had to adjust operations very quickly. It's hard to believe in 2 days. We'll be at the 1 year anniversary of when we really said, all right, look, everything changes, ways of working change. So I have not spent a day in an office in an entire year.
Wow.
We have a very wide operation. If you think our field forces, our store operations, our technicians, our network engineers, there's a lot of people that are out that need to be at work. So we had to create different ways for them to work. We stopped doing installations in home for some time in second quarter last year. Our retail stores changed dramatically. Many of them closed, a very high move to a digital first, and sometimes in many cases, digital only operation. I'd say our corporate staffs all worked from home, but we proved pretty quickly that we could do that and do that well. Technology, I know we're on Zoom today, but the upgraded version of that would be Blue Jeans, which of course is a Verizon company.
Right.
And I think that technology really has proven a different way of working, that we can be very flexible. And some of the other elements for Verizon that were very positive is our Fios business, our home broadband business. Really outside of the 1 quarter where we weren't doing installations as much, the demand for our product went way up, and partly because it is superior. The upstream, we have most of our products there. The upstream is the same as our downstream. And this is the kind of the first time in a home broadband status that I would say it was really required, where customers realize the need for upstream. When I'm right now, you seeing me is the upstream side. And in the past, we've been so focused on like when I'm downloading a movie. And so customers started to realize that they really needed that. And the cable companies maybe didn't provide that. So, we actually had one of our best years, I think in 6 or 7 years in Fios in the last couple of quarters when we started doing installations again. The sales really took off. So that was exciting. In the mobile space, people didn't shift as much. And so as a result, we had the lowest churn we've had really in our history. And I think that was an industry-wide thing. People just kind of stayed where they were, and having the best network with with wireless, proved well for us there too, but traffic patterns could change completely. We would monitor that, but our networks held up very, very well, as the distributed use of where network activity was happening. So we had to look at all of that, but and we also had to look at how we market, how we were talking to customers, and then shifting to like touchless retail when we started to open back up. So operational processes changed, a heavy focus on digital first and making sure the customers could easily interact with us digitally. So we accelerated all these investments we were planning on making anyway. But you were kind of forced to do it much more quickly, and that will never change, which I think is great. Our flexibility with our workforce, which I think a lot of companies have realized that you can do. The other side of that, though, coin of working from home so much is I do think that we talked about like kind of the roots of the culture that you feel sometimes missing a little bit when you're only on video calls for, 8 to 10 hours a day consecutively. It becomes tiring, those human kind of relationships that you have in the hallways. So I think that over time, you'll see Verizon and probably a lot of other companies start to shift back a lot more flexibility with the workforce, but there's still an important role of being in the office. And we look once vaccines are much more deployed out there, we'll be looking to come back into the office in a partial way, at least, if not most over time. So lots of change, but there's a lot of positivity when I look at it, of what we learned, how we were able to adjust, how we realized how nimble we were. I will give Verizon another plug. Verizon, our response to the pandemic was rated by Forbes as the #1 corporate response. And we have part of our credo that says we run to a crisis. And we do. As a company, anytime there is something, we run to a crisis, supporting our customers, supporting our employees, supporting society as a whole. I really was impressed by the entire ecosystem of Verizon and how we really did run to that crisis. And it was nice to see that honor. And we supported our employees. We didn't furlough anybody. In fact, we went to paying extra for our technicians that still were out working in the field and our reps that were in the stores. So we really set a standard, I think, for corporate America on how you should treat employees in a crisis like this.
Right.
Wow. This is great to hear, Angie. And so many different things I would love to kind of talk more about. I'm sure Dave also had some questions as well as you were talking about it. I'd like to take a piece of the Verizon Fios one,
Sure.
if I could. Obviously, one of the big things, as you mentioned, is, people realizing how important data is, especially for all the school kids that are out there who were at home and kind of doing from home and all of that. Would love to hear about, kind of what role Verizon played perhaps with education. Would be great to hear. I can imagine it's such a critical role, especially in the last year or so, where people were at home and students, needed to still be in school.
That's right. So there's a number of angles on this. As part of our Citizen Verizon program and our foundational efforts, we have Verizon Innovative Learning. It's one of the core elements of Rose Kirk and her team and what they focus on. And we provide a number of schools, direct access, and students in those schools, especially, low income schools or schools that have more needs. And so we accelerated some of those programs out to those schools and those kids that are in those at home providing service. We also launched what we called Fios Forward last year, which was a way to, there are a lot of programs out there for low income households, but we didn't really have that. And frankly, Fios footprint overlaps with all of the MSOs. So every customer kind of had a choice that was more of a low income. But we found with our cable companies, they were doing more of a sub-tier service that was eligible. So it was a low cost service that you'd be qualified for if you were, say, in the National School Lunch Program. And we said, we could go create something like that. But we're not really providing any sort of difference to the market on what is already available. So when we created Fios Forward, what that did was gave our main market offers, which, like say in New York, our lowest speed is 300 meg. So you have 300 meg, 500 meg, or a gig. And we provided for anybody that qualifies for the National Lifeline program, which is a good way to whether you're in Medicare or Medicaid or any of these programs that would qualify you under that, you would qualify for Fios Forward. So that was giving customers another choice, but also not a sub-tier choice. So you could get 300 meg Fios for as low as $19.99 a month, which is a pretty amazing service quality. So we wanted to provide that kind of superior product choice. No no difference in the service that a customer that's not in that program would get, but just at a more accessible rate. And so we've accelerated that program. In January of this year, we launched it, and we said even our existing customers can go into it. And I think that's an important thing. But our innovative learning side and all the work with Citizen Verizon, you'll see us even do more, partnering with more schools out there as they were operating between partial in school, fully remote, providing jetpacks and connectivity and tablets to students in a number of school districts across the country to assist. So, we're very committed to that. And the digital divide is real. And you'll see us even step more into that as we go forward in the upcoming years. I think that, the recent stimulus bill, the emergency broadband benefit, that is part of that, we are going to be fully operationalizing across our home and mobile businesses. So we're very committed to that program as well.
So it's amazing all the things that Verizon has done, and it sounds very, very forward thinking in what it is that you've done and trying to help so many people. I want to shift gears a little bit because one of the things that you said was how we go to market has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so could you talk to us a little bit about changes that you've made in how Verizon goes to market?
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that we provide with a monthly subscription services is providing solutions that meet the customer's needs. Like for our FiOS service, we've never had caps on broadband. As we deployed 5G home, we said the same. And then our LTE home, which was launched last year, none of those have LTE home. So we put on our 4G network, we have some areas of the country that we've launched a home service now, but all of them, none of our home broadband services have any sort of data caps on them. And at a time like this, when people are using a lot more data at home than they ever have before, we found that was very important, and we wanted to make sure we really committed into that. And so when we think about going to market, I would say digital was a primary focus of our media spend. We shifted more to that, and we also shifted more to the call to action, away from stores when we were closed part of the time, or we might have longer waits because of the capacity elements we were managing in our stores, and really making it easier for customers to transact with us digitally. We also moved our operations for our care centers 100% to working remote, and that will remain. So a very distributed workforce. And by the way, our employees love that. On top of it. And so that was a permanent change. So we're never going to go back into our call centers in our wireless space. Like, we're going to be working from home and making sure that we had the right setup for all of our employees there. But, that's been something we had already a lot of our model there, but being able to go fully there, we could still support our customers 24/7 and not have to worry about having people in offices and, in the height of the pandemic. And that's a really flexible workforce that, again, we can recruit for a lot more places. Employees are satisfied with that work arrangement. So lots of things. And on the marketing front, there's a lot of things we do at Verizon. One of the things you'll see about Verizon a lot is we are out in the market with our sponsorships, with events, and that was a major change this year. So we were doing a lot of concert elements, sponsoring artist tours, certainly sporting events. We have major
those went away.
All that went away, but we did adjust. We went to some virtual things that were very cool. One of the bigger things that our marketing team and our business group did, I'm in the consumer group, but we supported it too, which was these virtual concert series and gaming series that supported small businesses.
Nice.
And it was such a great program. We started out, we had Alicia Keys, Dave Matthews Band. There was a number of artists that performed for us over the course of it was twice a week. We had music, and then we'd have some live interactive gaming tournaments, which is beyond my scope of understanding. I'm not cool enough to know that. But it was all about supporting small businesses, and that kind of platform that we created, which is important to all of us. Every one of us loves our small businesses in the market, and we really wanted to get out there. And so we provided a lot of, grants out through that program to a number of small businesses in the market, millions of dollars. I think we donated, I don't know how many millions to support small businesses. That's really important for us. We're part of our communities where we serve. So that was also a shift in how we thought about our media and our marketing spend. Wasn't just about acquiring customers, but defining our role in society at a time when everyone is having to adjust how we operate.
Angie, this is, again, quite creditable in terms of thinking about how Verizon has played a role in so many different areas. As Dave mentioned, I have the privilege of being the faculty director of Wharton Customer Analytics. And so we care a lot about analytics and data. And of course, Verizon, I'm sure, even before the pandemic, obviously with all the data and carefully thinking about it, would love for you to take us through like the last year or so. How has data played a role in, for example, what services to offer, where should it be offered, perhaps at what price, and things of that nature? Would love to hear more about how do you manage the data that was coming in?
Yeah, well, data is probably, I don't make very many decisions without a lot of data supporting me. And then once the data supports me, my team would tell you that I'm very passionate and I have a hard time being convinced otherwise if the data points one way. But I would say that we always use data, like our traffic shifts, we watched immediately to say network performance. Do we need to shift investments in where the network performance is? And were we handling it? The answer was massive changes. If you think about, I'm here in New York City, right? But if you think about what normally happens on a day before the pandemic of the shift of where traffic happens in the center of a day, right into like, say, Midtown Manhattan. The distributed level of impact on our network, we wanted a monitor to say, like, how is it performing? And the reality was it performed so well. I'm very proud. Our network is the best, hands down. Our network engineers, they're wonderful. And they proved it once again that we have the ability to manage it better than anybody else. So that was a huge part of the initial is how is traffic moving? How do we consider where we go invest subsequently? Is this going to be long-term? Our marketing, our sales traffic, store traffic, all those insights from, all the analytics that we do on that was great. And then watching what people were buying. How did people step up on their FiOS plans, into our gigabit level, our jetpack plans for the mobile side. We had on the business side, you saw large businesses start to purchase massive amounts of jetpacks. At the same time, we were looking to give them for innovative learning and some of the kind of the needs-based side. We were also running out of inventory because large businesses were buying them for their employees to fund their broadband. So, that took our device team a major shift in having to go purchase more inventory. We also, from my team that does our pricing plans, our connected device plans like jetpacks, we had our standard plan. We added a second tier because people were looking for more data, especially if they didn't have a solid home broadband option for them. Our available, say, you might be at some people are going to their more remote homes, but still wanting to work. Maybe their ski house in Vermont or something. And so that's like higher tier jetpack plans were important. So we quickly introduced that, adding more data and saw sales be significant. So
just following up with that, so you've got the advantage that a lot of businesses don't, which is, all of your customers on an individual basis. Right. And so have you been able to use that and sort of customize things for each particular consumer and make sure that the service that they're getting and how you communicate with them is unique to them?
Yeah, that personalization is a main point of what we do in our base marketing. So as you know, the things that my team has been focused on for well before the pandemic, for both our home and mobile side, was what we call mix and match. And the advent of mix and match was really understanding that not everybody in a household is the same on a mobile plan. So why should everybody have the same plan? And creating distinguishing levels of experience and services and add-ons and features that fit with different segment needs. That has been hugely successful for us, and we will continue to lean into that as we go forward. Home was the same. We launched Mix and Match actually in January of last year. Right. And it was just fortuitous in the timing, which we basically said, not everybody wants the big bundle of services. So you can buy broadband, you can buy TV, if you want TV added to your broadband, great. If you want voice added to your home voice added, if you don't, fine. We've seen a massive shift into people going just for home broadband and a shift to OTT video. Wow. You've also saw us this last year, we partnered with Disney and we have the Disney bundle that we introduced as part of our wireless plan. So you get Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, included in some of our plans. We launched with Discovery. So when Discovery Plus launched in January, so OTT, like we are also really becoming the partner of choice for many large OTT providers because of our ability to market specifically to certain segments, but also go broad and provide these value added features and services. So we're the largest direct to consumer marketer in the country, and as a result of that, there's power in that. Yeah. But it's also really fun to bring these kind of services to our customers, especially when more customers were home and consuming video over the top. So, watching The Mandalorian, watching, Chip and Joanna Gaines, listening to your Apple Music, we provide all of that to our customers on us. And so that's been fun too. And if you look at the different plans that we have in our portfolio, they are unique, and our base marketing engine really understands at a more personalized level who these customers are, and targeting them with specific offers and specific device offers, upgrade offers, et cetera.
That's great.
Oh, that's wonderful. So Angie, again, going back to kind of, as you just mentioned, Verizon being such a big player, in fact, the biggest player in direct to consumer, I think if you had to think of a company that perhaps could forecast how things would roll out in the next few months, looking at how people are using their data, where are they using it, how much are they using it? Do you see, for example, as perhaps the recovery is happening, I hope in the next few months, we'll all be vaccinated, things would be great. Do you see those kinds of changes happening already in some parts of your data around the country? And if so, how are you planning for it?
Yeah, well, I think return to retail is one thing that we are gearing up for, and making sure that, omni-channel experiences are certainly a buzzword, but it's not just a buzzword, right? It is real. Like that. Yeah. Some customers will continue to be primarily or only digital. Some customers do want that physical store experience. Yeah. And we want to make sure that it's very seamless, no matter where you choose to do business with us, that omni-channel. And we want to welcome people back to a retail, the touch and feel of some of our, whether it's the handsets or really understanding the different 5G experiences that we're going to bring to life. So I think you'll see some of that really start to evolve. It'll all be different, I think, in how stores are constructed, how we manage traffic within the stores. But you'll see more omni-channel, and you will see a welcome back to retail, I think, in the next few months. Some markets clearly are already opening up in much broader ways. That's more of a political environment than probably what is scientifically defined. But that's okay. I think that we're going to be managing to what our customers want across the board. So data is always going to be what informs us, and customer sentiment on top of that.
Right. Yeah. Angie, we really wanted you as part of this series because we think of you as a leader, and clearly your comments have reflected that. Just as a parting comment, and I think we could go on for hours, but I promised you we wouldn't. As the last question really is, if there was any piece of advice that you would want others to learn from you, and I'm thinking about others in senior marketing positions, what would be the one or two things that you would sort of advise them in terms of how to manage during these turbulent times?
Yeah, I would say the one thing that I am probably the most proud that we did as Verizon was focus first on our employees and the customers, and society third, and last shareholders in the moment of a crisis. All four stakeholders are very critical to us, but in a moment of a crisis, your customers and your employees are the number one. Like, those are the ones you focus on. When you do that, the other things fall into place. And, for us, it's a little bit different type of industry. People pay monthly, and our services became as important as they ever were during the crisis. So that's, benefit that we did have. But that didn't mean that we had to do the investments that we did, both for our customers and giving away a lot of, data, waiving charges for international, all those things that we did up front were because we centered first on them. And when you do that, the other things fall into place, including the shareholder benefit downstream. So I'd say that would be my number one guidance, is if you focus there, the other things fall into place.
Yeah, that's great. Wonderful comments. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Stay safe and keep doing all the things that you do. It sounds like you're doing wonderful things. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Angie. Take care. Bye-bye.